Hey everybody, hey art students. Let's get ready to think a little bit more about contrast, create a little winter landscape. We're going to need a pencil for today and a piece of paper for today. So go ahead and grab those supplies. I'm going to ask you to hold your paper so that is what we call landscape, which makes sense because we're drawing a landscape today, right? Landscape is when the paper is longer from side to side. This is portrait view. This is landscape view. Okay, so we're going to do this step by step so that everyone can follow along. So when I draw something on my paper, you go ahead and draw it on yours, right? We're used to that by now. The first thing we're going to do is start with the ground. And since it's going to be a winter landscape, I want to think about a snowy ground, a ground maybe with some hills or some elevation. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to come in from the left-hand side and we're going to draw a sloping line which starts in the middle and comes down. We're not going to go down all the way. We're going to stop. Okay? The next line is going to start at the line that we stopped. We're going to go up with it and we're going to let it wiggle off to the side. It can slope a little itself too. Okay, and then one last thing we're going to draw is a little hill over here. And they should all touch. If you notice, they all end up touching one another. Okay, so now we've just created the bottom, which is going to be what we call the foreground. That's going to be our snow. And the top is going to be the background. It will actually be the sky, the night sky. Okay, and this, along this crooked path here, is what we call the horizon line, right? And the horizon line separates the sky from the ground. In this case, the horizon line is a bit wiggly as the hills go up and down. All right, so that is the beginning of our picture. We're going to add some winter trees, and as you know, winter trees usually lose their leaves, right? So we're going to start on this side. Just draw ourselves a nice tree trunk, not too thick, not too thin. It may get a little bit thinner as it moves towards the top, as trees do. Usually the thickest part of the tree is down near the bottom. We're going to put one on each hill. If you think about this being a hill, and this being a hill, and this being a hill. Okay, so let's go into this middle hill, and let's go ahead and draw ourselves a nice tree. Remember, it can be a little wider at the bottom and it can get a little smaller at the top. Not like a point small though, right? Trees don't come to that point when the trunk is growing. And let's put one over here. They can be different widths, right? This one might be a little bigger than this one. That's just how nature is, and that works well for our art. Okay, so we did 1, 2, 3 on 1, 2, 3 hills. Now let's add some empty branches to the tops of our trees. So we're going to be working up here, okay, to add some detail. So from here, let's draw some branches. Again, they're actually a little wider when they touch the trunk, and they get a little thinner as they move away from the trunk. We can really add as many as you want. I'm just thinking about what I might like to do. And you're more than welcome to follow along with me, right? Okay, so that's good on one. Now let's think about the others, right? We don't want to leave them out. We want to make sure that they all have some branches. So on this tree, I'm going to draw a branch. It's actually going to split. They split into twos, right? So this will look like this, and then this branch will keep going and we'll split up here. So hopefully you can see how I did that. And let's put one on the other side too, okay? Kind of splits into a Y, if you've never noticed. See how that kind of makes a little bit of a Y? And then our final tree over here, can add a few branches. We can make another Y if you'd like. And we can wiggle up. And if you notice, they are all going off the top of the page. They're all ending up. So the tree would keep going, right, in reality, but we've run out of room on our picture, and that's okay. We like in art when things continue off the page. It actually helps our art look more interesting. All right, so trees are done. We're going to leave them bare everywhere else, so they're good, nice winter trees. What I'd like you to do is actually think about the space in between these two trees, right? Okay, we have this nice big empty space. This is going to be a night scene. We're going to create a winter landscape at night. So we're going to draw a moon. Now there's two ways you can draw a moon. You can draw a big full moon, make it a circle, or you can draw a moon that is what we call a crescent moon, when it's that nice kind of fun sliver of a moon, right? So I'm going to draw a big full moon because I want it to look like the night sky is almost getting lit up by the moon. I happen to have something to trace. You may have the same thing. You may not have the same thing, okay? If you have something circular to trace, then go ahead and grab it. If you don't, it's called freehand, and you can just freehand your circle. Okay, that leaves me a huge moon, but I like it. I'm gonna leave it. Looks good for me. Okay, right in the middle. Now, if your moon is too big and it doesn't fit in here, that's probably a problem. We want it to fit in this space. Okay. Now, one of the final fun things to do with this is to actually create shadow. We've been talking about contrast, and contrast is created, like we said, usually with opposites, light and dark. So when there's a light source like the moon or the sun, and it's shining, we end up seeing shadows, and shadows are often dark. So it's kind of that contrast, right? Light and dark. So we're going to create a couple shadows down here in the foreground or on the snow. And what's going to be giving the shadow is the light from the moon and the tree. So the tree is blocking the light, and that's how shadows are created. So there's an object standing in the way of the light shining down, and that's how we create shadows. In fact, you can see the shadow on my pencil. You could see the shadow of my hand. Any object I grabbed right now, Bob Ross, he's leaving a shadow. It's the shape of him. It's the size of him, right? Our shadows take on the shape of the object in the way. So our shadows for this picture are just going to be similar to the trunks of the trees, but there's a special way that we're going to draw them. So pay close attention. Okay, here we go. So from the trunk of the tree, I'm going to draw a line out, and I'm going to start at the other side, and I'm going to draw a line out. Okay, so it looks almost like there's another tree there, but there's not. It's the shadow. Okay, and eventually what we're going to do is we are going to add a little shading to it. I'll show you that another time. On the other two trees, it's similar, but it's actually moving in a different direction. So the light's going to come in this way, and the shadow's going to follow the path of the light. See the diagonal that my pencil is moving? That's the direction that our shadow is moving. So I'm going to start again at the base of my tree, and I'm going to go boop, and I'm going to go boop, and that again is about, okay, the trunk of the tree getting in the way of the light coming from the moon. So we have one more to do it, right? We have one more tree, a third tree that we have to draw a shadow for. So again, it's going to be similar path as this. If you can see the same diagonal kind of getting created. I'm going to start at the base of the tree, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to start at the base of the tree, and I'm going to go here. Okay? So again, these will be filled in. The rest of the ground we're going to leave white, but these are going to be filled in so that they're going to be shadows, and then we're going to think a little bit about what to do with color. Okay, so that's part one of creating our tree. So check out my artwork, check out your artwork, see if you left anything out, see if there's anything you'd like to add before we stop with this part of our project for today. Okay. Thanks, everybody.